Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Wednesday, October 6th at 12:31 p.m. What a morning. We saw Bitcoin break out from a serious resistance. It got stopped by the subsequent resistance, and the market has been churning at this higher price point pretty much across the board. It wasn't just Bitcoin that broke out, it was a variety of other assets across the board. And that really plays into a lot of what I see to likely come. I don't think these markets can be compared to historical markets. I believe it's a significantly different market nowadays. You have all the major exchanges, predominantly in the US, being Coinbase and Gemini. They have a plethora, an exorbitant quantity of meaningful DeFi assets. The general public is aware of DeFi. Institutions are aware of DeFi. They just haven't pulled triggers, and they haven't pulled triggers on Bitcoin. So I expect if there's going to be any significant capital inflows into any asset, it's going to be all of them, all the meaningful ones, because of knock-on effects. You get a massive capital flow into Bitcoin. What do you do with it? You want to collateralize it. You're not going to get that kind of leverage. You're not going to be able to access that kind of equity from Bitcoin DeFi places or other maybe more centralized lending platforms. You're not going to have the versatility. You're not going to have the optionality of where to deploy capital to other lucrative places. Um, who's going to buy Bitcoin and access its equity to use that capital back in the real world when there's zero opportunity left in the real world and all the excitement, all the buzz is with the crypto space? Now, clearly, I'm talking a little bit speculative in many regards, but the way I express my portfolio is my expectation that disintermediation of financial services is the largest narrative going on in the crypto space. From an institutional investment standpoint, great. Bitcoin rips to 250 grand. What, you got a 5x on your money? Have you seen what's going on in the crypto space? So a 5x on your money, you'd have to be all in on Bitcoin to 5x your portfolio when I think other assets are going to rip not just 5x, but 10, 20, 30, 40x. So, we all have to ultimately, in the end, express the way we view markets and latch on to the narrative that we think is going to perform the best. So you want both. You want something to outperform markets, but you also need to respect yourself. So for me, the narrative of value storage, yeah, that's great for corporate treasuries or, wealthy folks, institutions, family offices. That's a heck of a narrative and that changes the world. And I agree with everything that the Bitcoin folks say, where it's sorely needed. A sound money option has properties of gold, is fungible, easily transmissible, payment finality, and all that fancy shit. But for me, this intermediation of financial services is much more profound. It just, I want to provide liquidity to Forex markets. And you can't do that in legacy finance. So from a opportunity standpoint, that's where I personally believe the opportunity is. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm going to have my conviction. I'm going to watch the market play out, and I'll see in hindsight what outperforms. And in the end, I respected my opinion. And however it performs, it doesn't matter. I win because I respected my opinion. I always tell you guys, I'm not in this to make the most money possible. I'm in this to follow my ideology, to define narratives, and place my capital according to the narratives, the stories that I see. You guys know at this point, I have a couple of narratives out there. The Uni V3 narrative's back with Popsicle. China narrative's hot. India narrative's still on the table. It doesn't have market momentum right now. But the biggest narrative of all is probably disintermediation of financial services. And for that, you know the picks. At this point, you know it. Let's pop it over to the main screen and see who's in the stream. I'm the Futures in the house. Andrew's in the house. Stuff. A pleasure. Dan. Slightly off topic to title here. I can't wrap my head around advantages of Spirit or Boo or Spooky Swap. Can you please shed more light on this? It's just two competing platforms. Spirit has some organization going on with Abracadabra slash Popsicle folks. So that's interesting to say the least. Spooky Swap has a larger entrenchment in the Phantom ecosystem, more TVL, so on and so forth. I think from a Phantom perspective, 5-10 years from now, Phantom's going to run multiples. Both Spirit and Spooky will run multiples. So if you want to apply to both, probably spread too thin. So you pick one. If you pick Spirit and Spooky Swap outperforms, and come on, it's not about making the most money possible. It's about finding conviction and sticking with it, which is actually why I chose Spirit, because of the 4-year lock, which forces conviction. So I want exposure to the Phantom platform, lock some capital in there for 4 years. Good. I'll check back in 4 years. Forced conviction. XBOO's cool too, but I'm sure if it tanks 80%, folks are going to get very fearful. But if Spirit tanks and there's a bear market or whatever the hell happens, I can't sell it. I'll check back in 4 years. So that's what I liked about the position. I'm a 4-year locker. Go figure. Harjeet in the house. Be humble. A pleasure. Foo Bear, good morning. Daniel in the house. Fife. Alan. Colin. Really interested in getting into S-Spell. Gas fees and Ethereum are through the roof. You can get Spell on Phantom and Avalanche. But you won't be able to stake it into S-Spell unless you're on the Ethereum network. As you can see, the price point here, Spell is up at, wow, 0.96 cents. So it's 0.04 cents away from 1 penny. This is all-time high right now. It's on this current 30-minute candle. So it's heck of a price point, to say the least, considering where we came from. I think my entry was 0.6 cents. And we're at 0.0. I don't even know where the hell my entry was. All I know was a long time ago. Andrew, good morning. Nuno. Hi, sir. What is your opinion on platforms like Olympus DAO? I happen to think at this point, based on talk I've had with colleagues, I think Olympus DAO is brilliant. I think they created a novel monetary policy amongst novel monetary policies. Now, that's completely mutually exclusive from taking a position. I have no position in either Ohm nor Time. I wish I did. I sure as hell wish I did, but I don't. I think it's going to prove to be a value storage, meaning the price of Ohm could depreciate significantly, but the return, the yield, will compensate and will allow your overall position to either maintain or grow in value. And that's exactly what they define the protocol to be, something that preserves value. My understanding from a monetary policy standpoint is quite interesting. They're mimicking the Federal Reserve commercial banking reserve shell game. You know, the way the Fed moves around reserve assets. So I'm quite tantalized from a monetary policy standpoint. You know, it may outperform. It may get multi. I don't know. All speculative, I'm going to say. If you may get multiples on your money, I don't know. I like it from a value storage standpoint, and that's exactly how they market it. The period of outperformance was early. Obviously, folks that got in on time early made a couple of multiples. The early liquidity providers made many multiples. And the same for Olympus DAO. I think what tantalizes me most is of it from a more platform functionality standpoint, the concept of bonds. And what I know it does is it deprecates pool twos, you know, the ones that hyperinflate to infinity and beyond, which is quite fascinating. Anyway, Frank, good morning. Happy to be in the stream. Ice. Let's take a peek real quick. I think Ice is going to be a heck of an asset. More so a protocol, which is going to generate a lot of revenue. So an ICE position is going to generate a revenue stream. Everything I have generates a revenue stream. I could care less if it goes up or down in value. What I care about is how many dollars I make on a daily basis. Income, salary, baby. Frank, afternoon. Yeah, at this point. Booze, when your crypto passive income stream matches your full time salary, you're going to retire. No, I very much enjoy the company I work for currently. I work for a startup, and it's in fintech, and it's alternative payment processing, and I want to help them. I think we could get them a good product, which they need to deliver on from a sales perspective to sell. We make the product as the engineers, and the business folks need to actually sell it. But I think it has legs, and you know, that caught my fancy. Well, no retirement for me. Um, Brian, a pleasure. Quantified. Hey, Noah, Daniel has such an unbelievable capacity to engineer magic for frogs. Understatement. What he's done is remarkable, and the rest of the team, to get liquidity from MIM on all the major platforms to the tune of $1 billion+. That's crazy. Foo Bear. Spirit requires locking their token to participate. Spooky is a non-locking stake. Exactly. Well, there's the distinction, but that's exactly why I wanted to go with Spirit. Dan, the fact that Daniel is involved with Spirit is a huge plus. Thanks for the info. Yeah, I found that to be an interesting tidbit. Booze, do you think BNB is losing its steam? I thought it always lost its steam. I never had any interest in it at all. And in the long run, I don't think it has a market fit. Vincent, looking for that entry point. Entry point. I'm horrible at entries. Horrible. What the hell are you going to get? I guess this was the entry. It was not even a 100 SMA retest. I guess it was a bottom of the guppies retest on the 30 min. Let's take a look at the 15. It's probably an SMA. I mean, it barely held on to the 10 SMA and the 15 min. It hit the bottom of the guppies on the 30 min. And that was the entry. And that's clearly not much of a discount. 0.8 cents. Not easy, guys. Kill us in the house. Dan, investing in a node which sends you tokens on the assets daily. If I sell for stables and withdraw, that would qualify as income, not capital gains. That's correct. In my opinion, that it's easiest to track that as income, which is secondary income, which means you have all the things associated with, like, you're doing work, you have a job, a business, and you got secondary income. So from a tax reporting standpoint, they don't even, there's no clarity on how to report any of this shit, but it's income. That's my business. That's my salary. And that's how I'm going to report it. Unless someone tells me otherwise, unless someone says from an IRS memo that says, yeah, for Spooky Swap, when you sell your XBOO, you got to do this, this, and this, and this. No, it's income. Drives me nuts. Never early, never late to the stream. Crypto bets. Good morning from Tavares. A pleasure. Franco still waiting for Curve to wake up. Got to be massive. Curve technically has never woken up. So you guys know my opinion of this. This is, well, now that Spell is, I'll tell you guys. Dude, Spell, oh my God. Spell is like literally like 2% away from topping my CVX CRV position. That's just naughty. I think it's ripped like 15-20x or something. That's just naughty. But this is one of the most interesting charts in the entire crypto space. So for the history of Spell, the history of Curve, it has never broken out. It's been this entire existence is a process of hyperinflation normalization, especially with the introduction of convex, creating a disinflation and transitory deflationary pressure. I posted on Twitter that 11 out of the last 14 days, Curve has been deflationary. And on the other 3 days, it's full-on disinflationary. Significant chunk of the inflation was reduced, 70, 80%. So the lockening, as a lot of folks put it on crypto Twitter. When this breaks out, all I know is I want to be there with a front row seat. That's all I know, boys and girls. Let me try and keep up with the comments. Never early, never late. Hit the likes, folks. We can do better. 48 people in the stream, 14 likes. We can do better. Crypto beds. Noah, off topic. Can you do a demo on the best way to deploy dollars in Curve? I don't do demos. DeFi Dad on YouTube and Twitter does demos. Take those dollars to Abracadabra. It's just you got to figure out the quickie of the buttons on the Ledger device. It's three websites. It's the Abracadabra website, which is boom. It's right here. The Curve website, boom, which is right here. And what else did he say? And on which chain? Pick a chain. Arbitrum. There's the Arbitrum bridge. Phantom, you're going to want to use AnySwap. Avalanche. There's the Avalanche bridge. Multi-chain. XYZ could get you to a couple places. So AnySwap takes you to a bunch of places. So you could use AnySwap pretty much for anything that it has asset liquidity for. So here, ETH Mainnet, Magic Internet Money, you could go to Arbitrum, Phantom, Avalanche, or BSC. So that's pretty much all the major markets, except Polygon. But no one hit Polygon. So that's the story. Here's your bridges. Replay this video. There's your URL. There's the Arbitrum bridge if you want to use that. You don't want to use MIM on Arbitrum. You want to use MIM on AnySwap for what it's worth. There's the Avalanche bridge, and here's multi-chain if you want to use that. Let's look at Bitcoin real quick. I want to take these dollars that are burning a hole in my pocket and put them to work. Yeah, I think we all do, my friend. Look, it's my birthday today. Thinking of gifting myself some Curve. I like Curve. I wouldn't mind a Bitcoin position. I don't have one at the moment. And, Bitcoin maximalists would think that's crazy. But I don't think that's crazy at all. And it's not just because of speculation or me thinking altcoins will outperform. I expect Bitcoin to outperform potentially, at least transitorily, for a period of time. And I think we have a dynamic market filled with value storage vehicles, as well as protocols that facilitate disintermediation of financial services. And what do I expect? I expect monetary velocity. I expect capital flow all over the place. Left, right, up, down, back, forward. The cash is going to churn, baby. It's going to go everywhere. It's going to. You bring in a $5 billion worth of Bitcoin. What are you going to do with it? You want to deploy it to spec assets that are meaningful, that are frankly systemic components of an actual functional financial system, which is what I would argue exists in DeFi. We actually have lending markets. Whereas if you look at M2 velocity for the US dollar, it's vertically down. Frank, how do you get revenue stream from ICE? Very simple. Popsicle. No, that's bribe. Here's Popsicle. Tiny little tabs. You go over to the NICE tab and you take your ICE and you put it in. That's all there is to it. 30%, and they haven't even relaunched. So they obviously have some sort of liquidity that's churning, that's generating revenue. That's as simple as that. Would you think that Joe is most comparable to Cake? Possibly. I don't know what's going to get another protocol up to Cake speed. I don't even know why Cake is valued at what it is. I don't know anyone that operates on Binance Smart Chain. No one that I work with professionally or casually does anything on BSC. So I don't understand that market. I don't understand why people would expose to that kind of market. So I find it very strange. I have no idea what Joe is capable of. I think Avalanche Rush fizzled a little bit. I think it'll adjust, and if they throw around meaningful incentives, they could draw in a fair amount of capital. I think Aave launching on Avalanche was a big deal, both Aave and Curve, and I think this all contributes to a general churn of capital, a monetary velocity, which is good. So you play around in Avalanche, get some incentives. It's not easy to figure out where to deploy your capital. I don't have the magic portfolio. But all I have is a portfolio that is respectful of my opinion, is carefully chosen. As I've said many times, 90% of my portfolio is 6 assets, where frankly, 3 of them are outperforming. The other ones have been horizontal for like, I mean, everything but the top 3 assets has been horizontal for quite a while, like a week or two at this point. Basically just fluctuating up and down. Top 3 assets, obviously, Curve Spell and Ice, have been significantly outperforming. Scott, hi Noah, love the stream. Glad I could finally catch a live vid. Did I read correctly that spell liquidity is coming from Arbitrum? S spell can be. Well, let's take a look. Um, Coming. It's not there yet, but S spell. If you could, in theory, you could transfer S spell cross chain. That's pretty cool. Interest bearing spell as a fungible, transmittable asset. That's quite a heck of an asset, in my opinion. Sir Joe, present. A pleasure. Foo Bear. Daniel said they're going to build on Arbitrum, so I assume Spell will play a role in that. No doubt. Foo Bear, FTM held the MA and is rising to test highs again. Yay! You know why? Because I got like a 40 chip in Yearn's the Phantom position. The MIM is coming too on Phantom, which is cool. Some lending, Yearn position. Yearn does all their fancy contracts, so this thing's cranking out 85%. And then if you go over to Abracadabra on Phantom, here, YVWFTM, I have a leverage position cranking out about 1.75x. So what's 1.75x of 85? That's like 140%. I'm cranking out like 140% on single-sided FTM, not it's pure FTM, 140%. So that's pretty cool. I hope FTM breaks out. This bad boy deserves to rip 10x. It ripped 10x, and all of a sudden I got 7 positions in the top of the portfolio. That'd be pretty cool. Would love a 10x on FTM. It deserves it compared to where Avalanche, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, and plenty of other protocols are. I think it's undervalued in many regards. Being undervalued doesn't mean it's going to go up in value. I hope it does. Dan, how would owning Bitcoin fit into the idea of focusing on solely productive assets? Bitcoin is a collateralizable asset, so if it appreciates or it retains value, you're able to extract equity from it using platforms simply like Aave or anything else that accepts WBTC as collateral or RenBTC as collateral. So it's a collateralizable asset. That's how it fits into a portfolio or a functional portfolio. Do you have any opinion on liquidity and the stablecoin LUSD? Not really. I don't have a meaningful opinion. Nothing that I can provide at this time. Stacking. There it is. Back to good old BTC. You should literally be taking some portion of your income and stacking BTC. Maybe. Why do you think Michael Saylor thinks his income buying BTC and not Curve? Because he's a multi-billionaire and he doesn't need to outperform markets. And Bitcoin can hit 250 grand, you're going to get a 5x on your money. If you put 5 grand into Bitcoin and you get a 5x on your money, you got 25 grand. Okay, can't buy a house, could barely buy a car. That would last a fraction of a year, probably in rent if you're paying like 1,500, 2 grand a month. And that means you would consume the entirety of all your gains. So it's an asset to preserve value at this point. You're not going from $50 to 50 grand in a Bitcoin position. So that's why Michael Saylor is buying it. It fits the narrative of wealth preservation. Because 5x on your money is not changing anyone's lives, throwing around a couple $1,000. Um, so that's that. Stack in, lower your time preference, stack BTC for your daughter. In fact, I extend my time preference and I have other assets so my daughter will never have to work. But she'll want to. So she'll end up going to college and do whatever the heck she wants to do, which is something that I should have done better. So a lot of my activity, a lot of my choices and logic and reason are thinking of my girls. And that's why I do what I do. I want salaries, I want income, so I don't have to work, so I could be there for my girls by choice. I'm not forced to do something I don't want to do. I want to work, but I could take days off. I don't need the income. And that's power. That's optionality. That's freedom, financial freedom. Dan said stacking. Gotta stack it. Listen, if you got a couple mil, if you got like this is the way I would handle the portfolio. If I had like if the market rips and I could get to 8 figures, I'd probably cut off 20% and pop it into Bitcoin. Pop 2 mil into Bitcoin. That's something that sounds reasonable. But 10, 15, 20% in the valued storage vehicle, treated like gold. That sounds about right. Gold bugs aren't putting 20% of gold in their portfolio. You're talking 5, 10, 15%. That's probably where my goals are. Blow off top market, and I get to like 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd probably still cut off about 10%, maybe 15%. That sounds about right. Fubear, as of right now, my capital deployed has increased the valuation by 100% in a week, and I still don't feel like I've deployed it for max benefit. DeFi problems. That is definitely a DeFi problem. My spells up like 15x in like 2 weeks. That's crazy. The captain's in the house. Hello, my friend. I hope everything's okay. It's not sunny out, so there's no sun on the bay today. Sushi is undervalued, and I have been waiting and waiting. Hopefully, I'm early, not wrong. That's the deal. Sushi is undervalued. We are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Basically, is an opportunity cost, and that is a complicated thing. And that's an interesting second sentence. Rather be early than wrong. Being early is often indistinguishable from being wrong until you're proven right. So I was actually very early with the battery metals market back in 2017. And I got nailed on some of my lithium, cobalt, nickel, and graphite stocks. And I just sat on it. I sat on the losses, 50, 60, 70% losses for the entire portfolio. I had to wait until 2021. I had to wait for 5 years. I waited 5 years because I knew I was right, but I was early. When you're early, you can't tell the difference with being wrong. So 5 years later, I was proven right. It took 5 years. Had a company go bankrupt. Nemaska Lithium. Lost $250,000 on that one. I was very angry. Very, very angry. What's a good entry in ICE? I am horrible, horrible at entries. You want to buy the blood. You want to buy when stuff is down. And then you want to watch it go up. So here's the problem with entries. You want to buy when stuff is down, and you're going to have that fear in your stomach that you don't have no idea where bottom is. You don't know if it's going to go down more. That's when you buy. Now the question then becomes how much. So a lot of people stack in. They buy, 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. And that's how you build a position on the way down. And that's at least the ideology. It's certainly not easy to take a position when something is basically vertical. That is certainly vertical. Come on, spell baby. Let's pull up the chart. Let's see where this thing is. This thing's going to break out eventually. And once it breaks that 1 penny, I think unit bias is going to kick in significantly. Well, CVX looks ridiculous. That's a heck of a candle on the hourly, and it's basically above all previous resistances except this. I mean, obviously, you get over the green line, that's a big deal, but that's about 14. You get the $15 right about now, and this is going to be a heck of a market. Let's take a look at Curve. Curve's been bouncing around $3 and 260 for a bit, but it had the golden cross, which is 50 SMA, 200 SMA cross on the daily. So it just takes time. I mean, this is the best example of the golden cross. This was what happened last summer. Well, actually, no, this is what happened this year, earlier this year in January. A golden cross. This was the golden cross on a daily, this price action. And this is the start of the next golden cross. So this has two pieces of significant confluence. One, the golden cross. Two, the triangular compression for the history of the asset. A breakout here, if it took us the same appreciation as it did the beginning of the year, resulting from a golden cross, it would take us up to about $6, give or take. But it's also a historic triangular compression breakout. It could run the fibs. The fibs take us up to about $10. And that's probably not even fair market valuation in many regards. Stacking sounds reasonable. Yeah, I have a bit of a contrarian ideologist. I very much appreciate almost all assets other than Doge and Shiba Inu. Albeit some of them actually have decent monetary policies. One that catches my fancy is Apex on Avalanche has a really cool monetary policy. So I don't know. Alpha, regarding taxes, is it considered a capital gain when you swap crypto? Yes, assuming you don't swap into stablecoins. It's both. If you swap crypto, it's a capital gain. If you swap into stables, it's a capital gain. Basically, the government wants protection money. They want their taxes. Every time you do anything with any of these assets, they want a cut. Which is why I don't trade. I don't want any capital gains. I take a position, and I'm going to check back on it in 5 to 10 years. And that's easy for me to say because I've done it. I was around in 2017 with the battery metal stocks and obviously the crypto space. I could have done better in the crypto space. I don't have my mentality that I do now. And we didn't have the technology we did then. There was no reason for capital to stay in the crypto space during any type of bear market. There was opportunity cost. You couldn't do shit with it. The market was depreciative. Where the hell are you going to deploy capital in a depreciative market where, options were really not available? There was no FTX. So nowadays it's different. This time it's different. Very different. Alpha, also, can you do tax content on your estimate? You ask me a question and I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. I don't have all the answers, but I have a fair amount of experience with regard to the crypto space, obviously, which is the is predominantly what my content is. But I do have a fair amount of knowledge on taxes related to cryptocurrencies. I did my taxes with token tax, and a lot of it, I have opinions. Maybe a little controversial opinions, but I'm happy to help the best I can. That's all I do here is I try and help because helping you guys helps me. I better understand what the heck I'm talking about, which makes me make better decisions in the crypto space. So it's a symbiotic relationship. I help you, I help me, everyone wins. The whole point is just got to make better decisions. And the only way to make better decisions is to talk about the shit that we're thinking about. Fool Bear, there is a day trader classification if you trade frequently, like more than 5 or 10 times a week. Under this classification, you are only taxed on your net gains. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, net gains means you just need the top line. That's exactly what a colleague in another channel mentioned to me. Net gains. That's interesting. That's actually quite interesting. So you just need your total. So it makes tax reporting simpler. Doesn't mean you're still not going to get, killed on your protection money obligation. I call taxes protection money because, like the mafia, if you don't pay your taxes, they come after you and take things from you. So it's protection money. Dave, Ribbon and Lemma will allow sustainable yields in bear markets. Very interesting. Yeah, I think you mentioned two protocols, but there's at least a couple thousand in the crypto space. So, you know, opportunity overload. You have a great, you are a great help to a young guy like me. Appreciate you, man. Watch every stream. It's a pleasure, Alpha. We could do better. It's been a long road for me, and I know a lot of folks, especially new folks in the crypto space, are very much intimidated by ledger button clicks and moving money around. It's very intimidating, especially deploying capital. All of my capital has been made in the crypto space. I put in like 2% of my current portfolio. No, not 2%, 5%, let's say. So that gives me a bias, unfortunately, and makes it much easier for me to move capital around. As you would call it, it's all house money, it's all gains. So it's much more easy for me to throw it around. It gives me a little bit of bias. 75 people in the stream, 32 likes. We can do better. I don't have much else to show. Let's take a look at one thing. Spell is cranking out 123% the revenue of MakerDAO. So currently, Abracadabra, just on the Ethereum chain, generates more revenue than MakerDAO. And there's an 8.32x difference in TVL. So that means 8.32 times the amount of total amount of assets locked on Abracadabra. It could grow, and that would be more revenue. This basically shows how efficient or how profitable the protocol is for any given quantity of TVL. All right, let's wrap it up. Wednesday, October 6th at 1:07 p.m. As always, it's a pleasure. I hope it helps. Tell everyone to subscribe. After Party on Discord, and check out Twitter profile. You can see the Ask Vid URL and ask me any question that's on your mind. I'm more than happy. A vid, a stream 24/7. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.